The NFL has seen quite a few playoff format adjustments since its creation. There was the jump from 4 playoff teams to 8 after the NFL-AFL merger. There was the addition of a second wildcard spot in 1978. And most recently, the change in 2020 involved adding a third wildcard team in each conference and awarding only 1 bye week per conference as compared to the previous 2. In return, fans got more football as we saw 2 extra games on wildcard weekend, now called Super Wildcard Weekend, with the new revamped format. Overall, it's been a success and has enhanced the enjoyment of January football more than ever. Even with the enjoyment of the new format, it doesn't mean it's a perfect system. A proposal to the league by the Lions organization has many people questioning, have we been doing this whole playoff thing wrong for the entire time? As most of us know, the NFL, like many other sports, break down their playoff matchups in terms of seeding. For over 2 decades now, the division winners from each conference would receive seeds 1 through 4 based on record. This means that if you win your division, you would get to host a playoff game. But the fairness of this rule came into question numerous times over the years, when wildcard teams with superior records were still forced to go on the road for the opening playoff round. Prior to 2002, however, the NFL did allow wildcard winners to host matchups during wildcard weekends. But over the past 23 seasons, only teams who won their division were eligible to host in the first round. To no surprise, this created unbalanced playoff advantages. We've had 3 instances since 2010 where a team with just 7 regular season wins got to host a playoff game against opponents with 11 regular season wins. So yes, you heard that correctly. Despite winning 4 more games than their opponents, these 11-win teams were still forced to travel on the road to face teams with 7 wins. And to make it even worse, the teams with 7 wins are 2-1 in those 3 matchups versus 11-win teams. This includes the Beastquake game in 2010 where the 7-9 Seahawks beat the 11-5 Saints, and 2014 where the 7-8-1 Panthers took down the 11-win Cardinals. The only team to avoid the upset to a 7-win team was the 2020 Buccaneers. But unlike the 2 teams before them, Tampa had the luxury of not facing any crowd noise due to the pandemic, and Taylor Heineke still made them sweat that one out. Now, you could argue that these produced some great games, and the Beastquake game may be the greatest wildcard game of the past 20 years, but if we're not rewarding teams for regular season wins, then what are we really doing here? It's not the New Orleans Saints' fault that they happen to play in the NFC South and just happen to be in the same division as the 13-3 Falcons that year, and for Seattle in the NFC West, their competition was a 7-9 Rams team. I have a hard time believing that the Saints, who were 19-5 in the past 3 years at home, would have lost a home game to the Seahawks. It's just geographical luck at that point. Therefore, the Detroit Lions proposed an interesting rule change that I believe could really upgrade the NFL playoff experience and bring more fairness. In this proposal, the team with the best record in each conference would still receive a bye, but after that, the seeding would be decided strictly based off of record and not by divisional winners. It makes sense for this to come up now, with the 14-3 Minnesota Vikings being seeded behind multiple teams last year with 10 wins, and forcing them to go on the road, leading to an eventual wildcard exit. In the new format, though, this 14-win Vikings team would rightfully be rewarded with a home playoff game and hosted Tampa Bay instead, rather than being on the road against the Rams. I mean, technically the Rams weren't at home due to the LA wildfires, but it was still majority Rams fans. We also could have seen shakeup elsewhere, as the Packers would have been on the road at Washington rather than playing at Philly. The Rams ironically would have been at the Eagles, which we got to see in the divisional round anyway, and ended up being a great game. In the AFC, most would stay the same, except the Chargers and Texans would flip seeds, which overall is big because rather than the 10-win Texans hosting, it would be the 11-win Chargers hosting instead. Speaking of the Chargers, they made a similar playoff format proposal in 2023, but did not get the 24 out of 32 votes needed. This already played out similarly in the NBA, who prior to the 2015-16 season would guarantee a top 4 seed to division winners. A notable example is the 2006-2007 season, when the Chicago Bulls had 5 more wins than the Miami Heat, but Miami was given the higher seed and home court advantage due to winning their division. However, since that time, the outdated rule was changed, and now the NBA ranks seeding solely off of overall record and still divides the 2 conferences. The NFL can do the same thing. I'm not advocating for changing the scheduling or anything like that. There's still enough traditionalist in me where I enjoy seeing division division rivals face off twice per year. But for a rule like this, where there isn't much logic involved, I strongly agree with the proposal made by the Lions and hope that this rule is passed. I know on paper the Rams were probably the better team than the Vikings last season, but for no reason should you go 17 games, only lose 3 of them, and have to go on the road against a team with 4 less wins than you. But let's put ourselves in the shoes of the owners who are voting on these things. If you were an owner in a bad division like the AFC South or the NFC South, are you really going to vote in favor of something that could handicap you? Not only would this rule more than likely lower your seeding from 4 to 7, but think about the revenue you'd be losing out on. On average, the team that hosts a playoff game can make anywhere from $1 to $2 million. That's a lot to miss out on for changing the rules. But on the flip side, if you're a good team in a good division, like the Lions or Chargers ironically, it makes sense to push for this rule change. Why should you be penalized because you don't play in a crap division? These things do fluctuate, of course, and not too long ago the NFC South was a beast and the NFC West was pretty bad, so I guess it all depends on how short-sighted each owner may be and many other factors. Another forgotten aspect with changing the seeding rule is the significance of Week 18, aka the final week of the regular season. With the current layout, most of the top teams in the league have nothing to play for by the final week, hence why they benched their starters for majority if not the entire game. Of the 8 division winners this past season, 4 teams completely sat out their starters, while the Texans played their starters a very limited amount. Had this proposed rule been in place, teams like Philly, Houston, and the Rams would have had incentives to play their starters, which is what we want to see. It will be interesting, but ultimately I'm in favor of it, so I'm hoping this is approved at the next league meetings in late May. As always, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys next time.